the final step in that is to accept where you're at. It's easy to get wrapped up in the idea that, oh, I want a car. But the reality is, what I'm looking for is transportation. Once I achieve that goal of transportation, I have to recognize in myself that I have achieved the goal that I truly set. I have fulfilled my actual desire.
What's up, champions? Welcome to another Napoleon Hill principle training that we do here at Champion Circle. Champion Circle is a professional organization that helps small business owners and entrepreneurs to be able to accelerate their results through accountability and coaching. And every single month, we know the bread and butter here at Champion Circle is Think and Grow Rich. And every single month, we jump into one of his principles. And this month, we're jumping into principle, I believe, number 10, which is sex transmutation. And we got we got a few speakers to be able to share their experience with us about sex transmutation, about giving examples, their wisdom, their knowledge. So without further ado, we're going to first hear from our founder of Champion Circle, Jon Kovach Jr., who will then be followed up by our executive, Mr. Ian Stermer, and then you'll be able to hear from myself afterwards. So without further ado, let's turn it right to our founder, who is going to talk about transmutation as energetic transfusion into success. Jon, go ahead and take us away.
So Napoleon Hill called it in his book, Think and Grow Rich, the power of sex transmutation. Now, before your mind goes wild, I don't mean this as like bedroom talk. And as I've discovered and delved deeper into this concept, what I believe Napoleon Hill is teaching us was the ability to take the most powerful energy known to humanity, whether that be desire or any of those innate abilities that come through sex and many other things, and channel it into success. We are innate human beings. So I call it energetic transfusion. It's called the process of converting one form of energy into another, like plugging into a higher voltage for life, business, and even in your relationships. I've had the honor of contributing to the 13 Steps to Riches book, where we covered in our 10th volume this specific transmutation experience, where I've co-authored with both Eric Swanson and the New York Times bestseller Laurel Langmeyer, and I've shared my story, both my coaching experience and many other really great stories, which I'd like to dive into right here. But think about it. Energy is never really destroyed. It's only transferred. The question is where are you transferring your energy? So I felt like when I hung up my track and field spikes for the very last time, I lost my identity. But what I actually found was a new energy source, because that decision was pivotal. I had to make a decision between a life of athleticism or a life of using my brain, and converting that same energy of competition and hope for good into something that was a little less measurable than going to the weights and spending time in the training room. So I actually learned how to transmute my physical drive into entrepreneurial fire, the same competitive energy that won races and started winning in business. And as an athlete, you have many ups and downs. You get punched in the face. I've oftentimes talked about my experiences as an athlete in both basketball, football, track and field, and all the other sports that I've played. But it wasn't until I once got punched in the face during a basketball game. Instead of shutting down and like truly like letting anger take over and fighting back, which I can't say most of us have done gracefully, that anger I was able to transmute into scoring points. So it was almost as if by getting hit in the face was exactly what I needed to turn up the volume, to truly improve and increase my output. And so that anger was fueled by not just like adrenaline and rage and out of controlness, but I channeled that energy into scoring points. And another time, I was playing football, and this was back in high school, and I messed up on a football play. I was playing defense, and I fell for a fake run that went over, that turned into a pass over my head. And my job as a defensive safety was to not let anything over my head, meaning the ball flies over. So I messed up, but I fell for that, and I should have been like toast. Like anything that goes over your head, say goodbye. It's touchdown. But my frustration in knowing that I made that mistake actually fueled me to chase the guy down who caught the ball, and like a freaking speeding bullet, I tackled him like right before the end zone. It was incredible. My parents and the coaches and my teammates were all like, where did that speed come from? And it was just a channeling of fire and desire within into a moment of accomplishment. That's transmutation, converting failure into fuel. So I like to use the example of cavemen because it helps us to kind of see a more innate, natural, and historical way of looking at things. So even cave people understood transmutation the way I am describing it. Cavemen turned survival instinct into food, protection, and even survival. Okay, cave people turned, or shall I say, cave women turned survival instincts into creation, nurturing, and community, just at the basic cores of life. Today, we're not that different. I mean, if you compare yourself to a Neanderthal or a cave person, whether it's survival, love, or ambition, we all have the same type of energy within us. The key is learning to convert that energy rather than waste it. Cave people did the exact same thing. We just do it with technology, resources, and a ton of things already within our grasp that give us what we need to convert. And it's pretty impressive how privileged, but also how blessed we are with the technologies and the things that are at our available use. So I also like to relate this to, transition from cave people to personal feelings. When I first met my wife, okay, survival instinct kicked in. You're like, what? What'd you do? What's wrong with you? I had to have her. I had to win her over. I knew I could not live a single day with the rest of my life without her. And yes, this is my love story. And I had to win her over. I had to keep her attention, and I had to nurture our love across thousands of miles while she lived abroad, while we were dating. It was an effort. But that energy became persistence, creativity, consistency, passion. Gentlemen, are these all words that women are attracted to? Yes, they are. That energy converted into what I call the transmutation of our survival into connection. And that connection became one of my greatest powers. And then the last part of this is, there's a love, loss, and true energy. I vulnerably share with you that the night I lost my mom, reminds me of all the incredible experiences I had leading up to what came to those beautiful moments and times. For example, the night my mom got her lung transplant, this was several years before she officially passed away. I I traveled from the furthest corner of Utah overnight, staying at a motel and driving odd hours just to get to the hospital, knowing that, she might be okay, she might not be okay, but I would do whatever it took to be there. And when I got there, they basically just said, "Hey, we're glad you're here, but there's nothing you can do. She's already had the surgery. She's incapacitated. All you can do is just sit here and watch her. She's literally just out, but breathing." And I didn't take that. I didn't take no for an answer. So I did the one thing that I thought I could do. My mom's feet were just so swollen from the damage and the inflammation from the surgery. So I decided, that looks painful. Why don't I massage her feet for a while? And even though she was unconscious. But for about 20 minutes, there was no response. But yet I kept doing it. That energy of concern, love, and I've got to do something. Suddenly, her foot nudged my hand. when I took it away to stop after 20 minutes, I knew exactly what that foot nudge meant. It meant, keep going, son. That moment taught me that transmutation at its highest level, even when in pain, love can transfer energy. And that was a realization to never stop, to never fall short of the intuitions that we have as humans. Years later, when she took her last breath, I was there again, holding her hand, massaging her foot. Sadness should have crushed me. It did. But instead, transmutation turned that heartbreak into one of the most empowering, loving experiences of my life. That power of energetic transfusion. So you might be wondering, what are some of my practical applications when it comes to transmutation? Because it is an energy. How do you transmute energy? Here are 3 steps that I recommend you take. 1, develop an awareness. Catch your motivator, whether it be anger, joy, fear, love, passion, desire. I believe that all of it is transmuted from desire. But that's because I'm a believer in the methods of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and his 13 steps to riches. But for you, it might look different. So you need to develop an awareness of where your motivator lies. It could be anger, joy, fear, love, or any one of those forms. The second step is that conversion process. Learn and ask yourself, how can I channel this into progress, into results, into something that will lead to success? Whether it's slapping your head on the helmet and saying, I've got to track down the guy because I just threw the ball over my head, or getting punched in the face and turning that rage into scoring more points and winning the game. Or it could be a mess up, the wrong email sent, or working hard on a project only to find out that you didn't make any progress, channeling that into continuing to build and to grow. And the last part is that building process, because any transfer of energy creates a space where you must now recharge. So build back your energy with practices like stretching, meditation, nature, laughter, and even silly things like barking like a dog or whatever gets that adrenaline back up and running. But you've got to learn to recharge, build back your energy. If you do not build back your energy to its full capacity or to its ability to sustain, you will find yourself at a continual loss because of that transfusion and how it doesn't lead to the success you're looking for. Energy is everywhere. Resistance plus recharge equals growth. That's it. Resistance plus recharge equals growth. Whether it's in your body, your business, or your relationships, every obstacle, every emotion, every experience can be transmuted into something even greater. The formula is simple. Don't waste energy. Transfuse it. You may not be done, but you can be complete. You may not be satisfied, but you could be fulfilled. You may not have won the battle, but the war isn't over. Everything you need is already inside you. Transmute it into greatness. Thank you.
And thank you, Jon, for sharing that training with us. It is within you, and you get to take the steps forward. We're now going to be able to hear from one of our executives, Mr. Ian Stermer, who's going to share with us his views and his experience with this principle. Ian, go ahead and take us away.
Thank you. Transmutation is a fun concept, but it's something that really is, it's simple and it's something we deal with every day. We may not even realize it. So for instance, if I really want a drink and it just happens that I have $1, I can turn this dollar bill into this drink. Economics of current inflation aside. But it comes down at the beginning to a desire and understanding what our desire really is. If our desire is to have this drink, I've got to ask myself, what do I really truly desire? Is it the taste of this 0 sugar Sprite? Is it the fact that I am really, really thirsty? Is it the fact that I will look so cool walking around town holding this, that people will just want to be my friend? Um, what is the real desire? What is it we truly want to have? And until we know that, there's nothing to try and transmute. This dollar is useless until there's something that I want to use it for. And this drink could be something critical at some point for us. And just to share my own experience of that, I was one time giving a sales presentation to a group of executives. And in the middle of this presentation, I had that, that tickly spot you get in your throat where I just could not speak. And I was struggling to say anything. And I finally had to say, sorry, do you have anything I can get to drink for a second? And they apologized that there was nothing close by. What made it somewhat funny is I was actually meeting with Pepsi Cola at the time, and they had no drinks around there. They did have a drinking fountain down the hallway. But I had a strong desire in that case to satisfy this tickle in my throat. And I had to ask for help from them to see where I could get that. So when we're looking at transmutation, and we talk about sex transmutation because within all of us is a strong drive of sex. And how can we turn that into something that we truly want? And that begins again with what do we truly want? And I've used this drink analogy, but I'm going to change to a slightly different analogy here. Let's say that you truly want a car. Well, you have to stop and say, why do I want that car? Is it because I need transportation to get from point A to point B? Is it the utility of transporting some object or item? Is it the status of having that particular car? Is it because you want to pick up girls and you need a good car for it? What is it you want? And once you narrow that down, say, okay, well, I want transportation to get from point A to point B. The second step after deciding what you desire, what you want, is what is going to attract that thing to me? Well, what I truly want is transportation. So what is going to attract the idea of transportation to me? Let's take car out of it and let's look at the transportation. Well, maybe it's going to be money to buy a car. Maybe it's going to be looking for resources that I can borrow transportation. Maybe it's seeing if there's another option like a bus and understanding where is that thing that I want? How am I going to achieve that actual goal? So what will attract that to me? If I want transportation, then something with wheels is going to give me that thing. Now, how can I accomplish getting something with wheels? I can go out and get a job. Maybe I need to work harder at my job. Maybe I need to pick up a side job. And this is where I think the transmutation part really comes in, is saying, how can I get from where I am to achieving what I want of transportation? Now, again, saying it's a car, maybe I have a sales job. And instead of just going out and working, I start to think every sale I get, if I need $10,000 for a car and I make $1,000 on a sale, I start thinking every call I make is part of a car. Every sale, I just need 10 sales to make a car. That becomes my goal. In my mind, I'm transmuting my desire for the car into the steps to get there of making the sales or picking up a second job or working towards that goal that I have of achieving a car. So the final step in that is to accept where you're at. It's easy to get wrapped up in the idea that, oh, I want a car. But the reality is what I'm looking for is transportation. Once I achieve that goal of transportation, I have to recognize in myself that I have achieved the goal that I truly set. I have fulfilled my actual desire. It wasn't the new Ferrari. It was the bicycle that allowed me to get point A to point B. because that was truly what my desire was. So when we look at transmutation, it's really taking what we have, our passions, and turning that into the real goal that we have, going through those steps. And I think one of my favorite examples that illustrates that is from Lance Armstrong. Sorry, it took me a second to remember his name. Lance Armstrong, great cyclist, and he recognized that all of the things that happened in cycling for him came down to one thing, and that was the practice. And what he was asked when he retired what he would miss most about cycling, he said it's the practice, because the practice to him encapsulated all of the glory, the winning, the accolades, the joy of cycling, all came down to the practice side. So rather than being caught up in, oh, I want to win, he recognized that putting his effort, all of that desire into the practice is what carried him through to achieve every other goal he had. That transmutation of practice equaling winning, in a sense. So I want to close with that again, transmutation is something as simple as changing $1 for a drink, changing an hour of our effort for a goal we can achieve. So what is it you truly want to have? Not the shiny end result, but the true inner desire with it. What will attract that to me? And how can I accomplish it? And then realize that you've accepted it. You've accomplished it and accept that thing. So with that, I will close it and turn it back to Coach Willie.
Ian, thank you. It's crazy that $1 can become a soda. Crazy in the world that we live today. But it's through what Ian taught about transmutation that it truly can become just that clear. So without further ado, I have now the opportunity to share with you some things that I have on this principle of sex transmutation. I want you to come with me back into time where we go flying past in the European country, all the way back to the landscape. That if any of you have read the book, The Alchemist, where a shepherd boy is there. And as the shepherd boy is there, the whole book envelops his journey to be able to find his treasure. And as he goes along this journey, he meets several people. He meets the crystal merchant. He goes out and meets his, I think it's an English friend, as well as he goes throughout the desert, eventually meeting the alchemist. And the alchemist, if any of you don't know, is someone who has the ability to turn lead into gold, of basically taking the impure metals and transmuting it into gold, purity. And I think about that when I think of this, because it's not just about, Napoleon Hill uses all his examples about the sex drive, the passion behind it, and how to redirect that into something beneficial for you, of something that is not just something that could be addicting, but refocusing the energy into something else. Back in the old times when alchemists were around, and I actually don't know. I don't know if people can do that today. When they had lead and turned it into gold, they took the lead, and I want you to think of lead as your fears, your anxieties, your stresses, those things that have held you back, your limitations. That through the transmuting power, turning that now into something of which is passion driven, which is forward going, those goals, those dreams that you want, it's the results that you have. This isn't the fear, this isn't the anxieties, this is the courage, this is the confidence, this is the ability to push forward. Maybe probably a simpler example or a more relatable example is you enter a dark room. What's the first thing you do? You go on over and you flip that light switch. Now we have faith and we have trust that when we flip that light switch on, the light's going to come on. When the light comes on, it illuminates the room. whatever the light the particles and whatnot spew everywhere, be able to illuminate the room. The crazy thing too is that it can never go through a solid object. So the hardest things that are in this world, that light can't get through by just being that light bulb. It can illuminate the room that's in, but if you go around the corner, the light ain't touching it. And this fly is bugging me that's flying around. So I'm going to transmute my anger into something of teaching you this lesson of if you take that light and shrink it into a single point, that becomes something that we call a laser. And simply taking all the light rays into that single point and putting into a laser, it can go through any solid object and it can cut through anything. I want you to think about the goals. I want you to think about the results that you want. I want you to think about those wishes, those dreams that you have, and how right now it's just a thought among thousands of hundreds of thousands of thoughts that you have. And the only way for it to actually become something more than a thought is to take it out of your head and put it into this thing we call reality. You are transmuting it from what it was before, transferring that energy into something more. Even the simplicity of grabbing a piece of paper, which I don't have in front of me, and writing it down, you have done more to that thought of making it a reality than all the hundreds, if not millions, of thoughts that you had before. So when it comes to this transmutation principle of taking the energy from one thing and transmuting it into something else, transferring your ability into the thing that you actually want, it really is simple when it comes down to it. As someone who is dyslexic, I have to break things down. Have to, because in its simplest form, that's how I understand things. People use jargon words. People try to explain complicated formulas. I ain't that way. I'm like, no, we're breaking it super simple. So I think, how do we take what was into what we want? And the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, you need the discipline to do it. You just need to get it. So I think of discipline. What is discipline? Discipline is simply doing something consistently over a long period of time. So, okay, so if I do something, instead of like going after fear, which I've been putting my energy in, and instead maybe I'm being more courageous. Maybe if I meet a stranger, I'll say hi on the street. Or maybe I will go to the gym and do the workout that week. Or maybe I will pick up the phone and make that sales call. Or I'll hold the phone up here and hit the record button and record myself past the imperfections. I'm then transmuting the energy into a different side. And if I continually do that over and over and over again and do it for a long period of time, then I am considered a disciplined person. But what I don't think people realize is that you're a disciplined person in that. Because as I've broken this down, I've also realized that everybody is disciplined. Every single person is disciplined in something. Because when we say yes to something, we also say no to something else. So if we are all disciplined in something, this could be disciplined in when, like, so for myself, I open my laptop. I'm disciplined that the first thing that pops up on the screen is the thing I'm focused on. I'm also disciplined of when it comes to my family that I prioritize them. But I'm also disciplined at watching YouTube and playing Pokemon Go often. I am disciplined whether it's good or bad. So each of us are disciplined, and the only difference in people who are disciplined in the things that we want versus what we feel like we are not disciplined in is simply they are using their time doing things that are more of what they are wanting to get as a result. So if the only thing difference is that they are just using their time to go after different things, then simply that breaks down for me. So I just need to do more of the things that help me get what I want and do less of the things that don't get me what I want. I was working with a client, and one of the things that he was procrastinating on was to become a speaker and start a podcast. That's really what he wanted. But he was spending 4 hours playing video games every single day. And I said, cool. If you are actually wanting that, then what I'd say to you is, out of those 4 hours that you spend on video games, take 15 minutes out of that and hit record on your phone. Record yourself with an episode and then just upload it to Spotify. That's it. Because you still have 3 hours and 45 minutes, which, come on, let's be real, that's basically 4 hours. You still get your basically 4 hours of video games, and you're starting your podcast. And so breaking it down to the simplest of form, it's doing more of what you want and less of what you don't want, and not instant gratification, not what you want right now. We're talking like long-term goals, because you gotta think ahead. If you're not thinking ahead, there's no reason to change. Why would you change for something else if there's no reason to do it? So wrapping this all back together, if you are wanting to get rid of the fear, the anxiety, the stress, the focusing on challenges, the limitations, if you're wanting to transmute that into courage, confidence, the ability to get results, to be disciplined, to not need motivation, but to get things done when you say you get them done. If you're wanting that, in the simplest of form, it's doing less time with the stuff that isn't getting you there and more time with the stuff that does. And my challenge to you is, whatever that is for you, I want you to start, just like my client, to take that 10 or 15 minutes to do more of what you want a day and take it away from the things that are not serving you. Because in my experience, and what I've seen from my clients, is that it is not the big jumps that get people their success, but it is the little adjustments, the transmuting of energy, the transferring of time that get you the results that you want. Every single day, do small, consistent things as you transmute your time and your energy to focus more on what matters to you, and you will get the results that you want. Champions, I want to thank you for letting myself, Ian Stermer, as well as Jon Kovach Jr. to share with you our experience on sex transmutation and the principle from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. We do these trainings every single month. So what you should do is you should go to our YouTube channel, where you'll be able to find all the full trainings as well as the segments from each of the speakers. YouTube/My Champion Circle, and you'll be able to find it. You can also go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, and it'll have the links there, as well as the links to everything else going in the Champions universe. So champions, continue to be awesome, continue to be the champions in your own lives, and always remember that it's the small things. It's the ability to transmute your energy and time that helps you get the results that you want. Stay awesome, champions, and we'll see you on the next Champion Circle Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich training.